You'd all take your seats, please. Okay, we'll call to order. It looks like it's about 8:02. We have a roll call, please. Oh, we want to do the Pledge of Allegiance first? Okay. All stand, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. How can we have the roll call?
Lorraine Benefield.
Here.
Elaine Clyde.
Here.
Ken Jones.
Here.
Edith Ramlow. Shavonna Reed.
Here.
Justin Strickland.
Here.
And absent today are Neil Brennan, April McLaughlin, and Edith Ramlow.
Okay, thank you. So we do have a quorum. The next item of business is the approval of the minutes of the last meeting. Do I have a motion to so approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Do we have a second on that?
I'll
second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Okay, now we have B, minutes of the Special Library District Advisory Board. That's what we're working on right now. So now we have our open to the public. So if anyone would like to speak, please come up individually to the speaker podium, and you will have the usual 3 minutes, and there'll be a flashing light or yellow light after 2 minutes to let you know you have 1 minute left. Okay.
Good morning. I actually have a letter on file with the clerk's office with the Christian Family Coalition. So do I get the 5 minutes?
No.
Okay, you don't have that.
3 minutes, and
that's
each
fine.
speaker then can have.
That's fine.
3
I'll try
minutes.
to pack it into to 3 minutes. So my name is John Labriola. I'm with the Christian Family Coalition, but I've also invited or encouraged a bunch of people to come here today to speak to an item on the budget that maybe not everybody noticed, including maybe some people on this board. But there's been a lot of controversy lately over the last year or so, well, actually more than a year, but regarding the American Library Association. A number of counties, conservative counties across the country, including entire states like Texas, Montana, and a couple of others are considering it, have dropped their membership in the American Library Association because of the rabid radical agenda that they're pushing regarding drag queen story hours. There's an entire page on their website, and I have some handouts here. I don't know if it would be possible to get these out to the members so they can review it while they're considering the item. But I think there's one, two,
The members of the board, you mean?
the members of the board.
Yes, you may.
Okay. Could I? Which? Here you go. Thank you. So the American Library Association has very aggressively promoted drag queen story hours on their website. There's an entire page dedicated to it. That's one of the handouts there. And the other things that they've done has been to advise librarians about how to sneak in sexually explicit LGBT materials into libraries, especially in conservative areas where there may be objection. They're actually told, you can sneak it in. And so there's quite a few other speakers will address some of the other items, but I think it's time for Citrus County to follow the lead of communities across America. Even Senator Marco Rubio has called for stopping funding to the ALA because of their discriminatory policies toward Christian publishers. Specifically, they tried to keep Kirk Cameron out of their libraries. So we don't need to be, subsidizing this group. It's not about the money. I know it's not a huge item on your budget in terms of monetary, but it sends a strong statement. And if this board joins other boards across the country in recommending denial of continuation of the dues, I think that'll send a strong message to other counties in Florida and across the U.S. It is a growing number, and we should join that number. And so we're asking today for a motion to remove the ALA membership dues item from the budget. We know this is an advisory board, but the county commission puts a lot of weight into what your recommendations are, as we've seen over the last year. They follow your lead. So thank you very much.
Another speaker?
Good morning. My name is Rhonda Warwick. I'm a Citrus County citizen near Floral City, and I am concerned also. I'm here to urge you to cut ties with the American Library Association by deleting the membership dues item from the library budget. And I got on the ALA website last night, and I saw what John is also talking about, and they have the guide to the LGBTQIQ XYZ books for children and teens. They devote an entire page. They also, I saw where they talked about the drag queen storytelling, and that they had some opposition and etc. But our children, my grandchildren, yours, are very impressionable, and if we don't stand up for what is right, we're going to fall for anything, like that old saying, and we need to put a stop wherever we can to oppose this. And I just really pray that you would please make a motion to cancel this library system's membership dues. It's very important for our future. We should all be really concerned about this. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kevin Ballard. I'm a resident of Inverness, and the two previous speakers, I would ask that you would consider what they are saying. I find it very interesting, and what I would look into is why does Senator Rubio want to do two things. One, he wants to defund it, and two, he wants an investigation on the discriminatory practices that are alleged toward Christian publications. So if I was you, I'm just asking you to please look into these things. Look into this, consider what the senator is saying, consider the priorities of this association. Why do they, prioritize one publication over another? And I think by doing so, you'll come to a good conclusion. So thank you.
Good morning. My name is Mark Conley. I live in
Just
Hernando.
a second. Those who'd like to speak, I think if you'd line up over there on that side, it'd just be easier for everybody to, and we can begin by turn.
Well, let me restart.
We're going to restart your time.
Okay. My name is Mark Conley. I live in Hernando. I also am here to urge the library board to cut their ties with the American Library Association by deleting the dues and withdrawing from the association. The ALA's current president is a self-declared Marxist lesbian, and she has gone away towards politicizing and ideologizing the ALA, which has become notorious for promoting drag queen story hours and sexually explicit LGBT materials on its website and in libraries. Earlier this year, the ALA actively worked against Kirk Cameron's Brave Books and his See You at the Library effort to get more good and wholesome programs at the library. The Lakes Library held an event in the See You at the Library series with 50 attendees. Here in Citrus, See You at the Library resonates with their families more than drag queen story hours promoted by the ALA. As John earlier noted, all over the country, states and counties are withdrawing from the ALA because of its politicization. I wanted to read to you one of the ALA's policies for privacy guidelines in K-12 schools. Students and minors' First Amendment rights to free inquiry and privacy must be balanced against both the educational needs of the school and the rights of the parents. As students and minors mature, it is increasingly important that they are provided with opportunities to exercise their curiosity and develop their intellect free from the chilling effects of surveillance by educators, peers, parents, or commercial interests. I'm okay with the first part of that, but I strongly disagree, and I think Citrus County parents would strongly disagree with the notion that their interest in their children's development is chilling surveillance. The ALA's guidelines stands the priorities for making access to libraries and library materials on its head, putting the First Amendment and privacy rights of students, including numerous minors and children, first, before the rights of parents to have insight into what their children are reading and learning, which is the indispensable right of parents to be able to guide the development of their children and foster their maturity in a manner that is consistent with their moral values
Excuse me.
of their family
That's-
and community.
Your time is up.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next speaker?
Hi, my name is John Gattone. I'm from Lecanto, Kensington Estates. And I just want to, when I came here a while ago in Citrus County, I figured, oh, this is a nice conservative area to move, to retire, and enjoy my life. And I never thought that I would be coming here to, protect and defend our children, because I have children and grandchildren, and I can't see this LGBTQ infiltrating our libraries when you should be putting history books in there and other books that, when I was a kid, you just went into the library, it was quiet, you opened books and studied and went on a computer, and I just can't see the circus that's going on in the libraries. They're going to put books in there, put this Bible book in there, which Bible means basic instruction before leaving Earth. And that's what our children need today. Okay, so thank you for your time, and I ask you to consider, what the other speakers are saying about doing away with the library board.
Thank you for being so brief. Next speaker, please.
I'm going to be more brief. My name is Rick Matherson. I'm from Hernando, and I agree with everything that everybody else just said. I moved up from Broward County a couple years ago to get away from left-wing lunacy, and I would hope that you would also not renew your ALA subscription. Thank you.
Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is James Colantropo. I am a citizen here in Citrus County. I've never really spoken in public before. As a matter of fact, the last time I voiced my opinion, the following morning, I was greeted by the Citrus County Sheriff's Department at the request of Holly Davis. Honestly, this seems to be a common sense situation here. And the fact that we're even here to discuss what we are today, it's very sad. Some people here may agree or disagree with me. To those, and I don't know anybody here personally, I don't know what your stance is on the issue. But if you agree with me, may God bless you. And if you don't, I did not come here to offend you. And if I do, I really don't care. We're living in a modern day Sodom and Gomorrah. You may have heard some of that before. And we are all a part of it. Those of you that promote this agenda in the libraries, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be ashamed to look your family in the face. You should be ashamed to look at yourself in the mirror, your children, your grandchildren. With the onset of the internet and modern day media, I question myself, why do we really even need the library? Hopefully in the days to come, it will become obsolete. And by the library becoming obsolete, Maybe some of you will also. There's a lot of defunding going on in this country today. And maybe it's time that we just defund the whole library system. Personally, I have no use for you. I cut my card up.
You have 1 minute.
Thank you. I cut my card up, and I used to take my grandchildren there. We all had a great time. They were telling stories and plays, and they enjoyed it. I haven't been there in quite a few years now because of your disgusting behavior. Let me say to you today, keep your hands off of the children and keep your hands off of my grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Janice Murphy. I'm a resident of Inverness, and I'm in agreement with the previous speakers.
Next speaker, please.
My name is April Winook, and I live in Hernando County. I'm a mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and I am also a nurse. I just want to implore to everybody, it's very imperative for parents, citizens, elected officials to shift an offensive posture to safeguard the innocence of our children from adults seeking to abuse, manipulate, and serve their own agenda. Very important. I want to remind people of Matthew 18:16. If anyone causes one of these little ones to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and be drowned in the depths of the sea. God expects us to respect and protect and help our children. What I was, in an attempt to prepare for today's meeting, I was surprised to find out about the American Library Association's president, that Emily Dubinsky, that she tweeted, "I just cannot believe that a Marxist lesbian who believes that collective power is possible to build and can be wielded for a better world is the president-elect of this library." I read some of her quotes that she said during some of her interviews, and one of them when she was trying to organize a labor organizing, she was quoted as saying, "We are creating a socialist vision for public libraries." And she went on to say, "A progressive vision, a liberal vision." During her time as librarian, she has also pushed articles on teaching the radical catalog and queering the catalog. In other words, she wants to make a special space in our libraries for children to be educated on this alternate lifestyle. The ALA is an association filled with Marxists who promote books that create a sexualized child at an early age and turning libraries into a training ground. This was quoted by Wyoming Representative John Baer from his state. What I also wanted to go on to say is I did some further research and I found out that there is an organization called Gays Against Groomers, so you won't associate Christians as hate mongers. One of the main things they said was school is not a place for underage children to be bombarded with information that could exacerbate their natural inner turmoils. Growing up is hard enough as it is. We do not believe they should be exposed and pressured into contemplating ideologies that prioritize sexuality and identity as well. This is wrong. Gender ideology is not universally
I'm sorry,
accepted.
your time is up. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Barbie Ann Ocasio, and this is my beautiful daughter, Mariana Ocasio, my best friend in the whole wide world. Jefferson wins 2020-21 ALA presidency. As I assume leadership of ALA, we are confronting an unprecedented global pandemic and the likes of which we have never seen since 1918, an economic collapse, including the highest unemployment rate since the Great Depression, unjust police killings of unarmed Black people, and domestic civil protests not seen since the 60s. And like 1968, another pivotal election year. Racial animus and a pandemic make a perfect storm for revolution. From Yahoo News, Monday, August 21st, 2023. Emily Drabaginski, and you heard everything what she had said, but this is what it's not a right-wing news organization said. Emily Drabaginski, the controversial president of the American Liberty Association, ALA, previously expressed she wants to recenter children's libraries, not on notions of queerness, and prevent what she described as angry white mob families. Think about that. Only white people care for their children? That's a slap in all the other nations' faces. They love their children as much as white people. Cindy Hall is a librarian. She was just elected for the next year. She also serves as treasurer of the Freedom to Read Foundation. They go into the courts and fight parents that are trying to protect their children. This is what we have. Just looking up just this little bit of info on the last three presidents of the ALA told me all I need to know, that the ALA are placing leadership with really bad agendas. Please, our children are our future. This looks very gloom and dismal, like the one guy said, Sodom and Gomorrah is here knocking at our door. Lock our doors, protect our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Morning, everybody. My name is Ken Burnett. I'm from Homosassa, Citrus County, and a taxpayer. As you've heard, and I just want to interject that the head of the ALA is a self-proclaimed Marxist. Marxism is a philosophy of ill will and hatred. It is from beginning to end a criminal activity. It begins with theft and ends with murder. Marxism is the embodiment of morality of death. It's harmful to the requirements of human life. It's a system that denies man the ability to function as a rational, independent being because it denies him what his nature requires and the freedom to think and to act. I must say this about Marxism. First, it's the single worst blight to have affected human life over the course of a man's entire history. And second, those who advocate it represent the very definition of human evil and must be openly judged and condemned accordingly. Those who love liberty, life, and the pursuit of happiness must never forget the true nature and historical crimes of Marxism. We must not let others get away with invading them. We have other options besides the ALA. There is one other association that will do the same thing the ALA does. So what I'm asking today is please make a motion to cancel the library system's membership due to ALA. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, I'm Lori Pettengill from Homosassa. I hadn't been in the ALA website since last year, so I went in this year. I ended up with the Rainbow Book List, and I hope you never go on the Rainbow Book List and spend our money buying books off this list. But it's composed of over 190 books for young readers from birth to 18 and represents an array of diverse stories and identities representing the youth experience in books. And it's appealing and high-quality queer books for youth will help young people. The suppression of these books is detrimental to all youth. And then it says, the top 10 titles for young readers are intended for young people from birth to middle school. And then the teen is for young audience. And these books were all put together by the Rainbow Roundtable, which is of the American Library Association. The other thing that I was noticing when I went on the site was their activism. And their activism is really huge. Unite Against Book Bans, report censorship and find support, fight censorship. There's three really big advocacy agencies, and they want you to, anyone can report censorship incidents and find confidential guidance. This is going against parents who are looking out for the best interests of their children. What is censorship about? Censorship is about stealing children's innocence. Parents are uniting to stop this steal, and the ALA is fighting them. Children are the pawns of the Human Rights Campaign, and the ALA is their partner. And with that, I will say thank you, and I hope that you decide to not become a part of this partnership. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Morning. Greg Hoying, Floral City. Are y'all seeing a theme here? Have you heard one person speak out in support of the ALA? I'd like to quote something here. Just last week, the Texas State Library and Archives Commission announced they're cutting ties with the American Association of Libraries, accusing them of pushing Marxist ideology. This comes, let's see. In early 2023, the ALA appointed Emily Drabinski as president of the organization, who was a self-proclaimed Marxist lesbian and has been very outspoken on being a socialist. Are we a socialist country? Are we a socialist county? Additionally, the ALA has been known for opposing removing pornographic materials and sexually explicit context from books in children's libraries. About 6-8 months ago, I was going through the Inverness Library, and I happened upon a book in the teenage section, and I picked it up, and lo and behold, this book was on a teenager having anal sex. Now, I complained about it, and they said, oh, we'll take it off if, but who knows what they did with it. Is this what we're doing? Have you heard one person speak out in support of the ALA? I haven't. So I urge you, please, do not support this organization. This is not what we're about. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm Lala Sanders. I'm an American patriot and love this country, and I hate where it's going. All of us have to examine ourselves and find out what it is we're doing going forward. I'm also here to make a motion to cancel membership dues towards ALA. We need to be good stewards of somebody else's money, and we all know whose money that is. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Joe Papp, 18-year resident of Citrus County, raised my three children here, and I'm proud to be a resident. And I was unaware, I'm naive in a lot of ways. I never expected to hear an organization like that being any part, even though it's a minority of the budget. And there's often too many people say, well, the good of an organization outweighs the bad. But I want to just state that it's this small minority that are loud and pounding their fists that have huge amounts of resources behind them to promote an agenda that seems to be going rampant across the United States. All I'm saying, I agree with most of what the speakers have said today, but we can't let them to get a foothold in our community that affects our children, that affects the whole temperament of this community. Little things like this turn into big things. And once they do, you can't stop it. As you've seen in the news about other organizations get a foothold and you end up fighting things in court, where you've got groups. Let's stop it now before it gets to that point. Thank you very much. You all have a blessed day.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Vicki Robinson. I'm from Hernando. I'm totally unprepared, but I'm emotion driven, so it's like, yeah, I got to get up there. I've spoken before in front of the BOCC. I think there's another C in there. Y'all look like really responsible people, and I disagree with the one speaker who said he thinks we should abolish libraries. I think libraries are vitally important, and without a show of hands, I'm just curious as to how many of you that sit on this panel are actual parents or grandparents. Just curious. Having said that, I'm from New York, and I understand that us New Yorkers have a reputation for being outspoken. We are, and we're passionate. I had to tell my grandchildren who still live in New York, they said, Mimi, what do you do down there? I said, well, I joined a couple of groups. I volunteer here and there. I joined a church. I'm a treasurer for a conservative women's group that was recently named. I said, Mimi joined a hate group. Did you know that? Your Mimi's in a hate group because of the Southern Poverty something or other has deemed one of the organizations I belong to a hate group. I'm not a hateful person. I'm not a religious zealot. So I'm not going to sit up here and preach to any of you folks because you all look pretty reasonable to me. But do you know what happens to a child's brain, a young person's brain, when they are faced with pornography? It stops. It stops developing. It triggers something in them. And they spend their lifelong trying to avoid addiction and becoming titillated by that. They almost seek it out. You all have a strong responsibility to protect and save their innocence. It's vitally important. And so, of course, I want you to not support the ALA, what's called the American Library Association. It didn't used to be hideous. Libraries are vital. I mean, they used to be a safe place where even kids that didn't have parents, they knew they could go and get a good book and sit down. Remember the little images of the Disney characters before they became grotesque? You know, the softness, the roundness, the friendliness. I love libraries. And I hope you all do too. And I hope you do what you can to protect it. I'd like to read something my friend said recently. He's from New York too. And he's the epitome of outspoken. Our society is becoming decadent and full of sodomites. I truly had to laugh at that because I don't think he's seen the inside of a church in 30 years.
I'm
okay?
sorry, your time is up. Thank you.
But I'm tired of hearing the word
thank you very much.
inclusive
Your time is up.
to
Ma'am,
explain aberrant behavior.
your time is up.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Dean Bales. I live in Homosassa Springs, and everybody else has told you that it's a Marxist lesbian who has now come into the head of the ALA. Well, that's actually not unusual because of three lesbians who run Black Lives Matter, whose minions did $2 billion damage in the 2020 riots. These three lesbians also are admitted Marxists. Harry Hay, the one they call the elder statesman of the gay rights movement back decades ago, he was a card-carrying member of the Communist Party. This you can find, it's public information if it hasn't been censored off, but he is the one who took Lenin's definition of a cultural minority, modified it, and said that we homosexuals are a cultural minority, and we need to get ourselves together. And he's the one who got the ball rolling on homosexuals conjoining into a movement. So there is clearly some link. That's not some odd paradox that she would be a lesbian Marxist. And, Reagan shut down the Soviet Union by defunding them. They were actually getting funding from the World Bank. And it's like, if they claim themselves a superpower, what are they being funded for? Okay, well, he found ways of defunding them, and he helped to topple them. Do you have the resolve of Reagan? And I know this is frustrating. It's almost like playing whack-a-mole. You knock down the leftist lunatics in one hidey hole they pop out of, and they just come up out of another one, and you got to hit them again. But, like the Founding Fathers said, the cost of freedom is eternal vigilance. Do you have the eternal vigilance, or are you just going to say, well, I don't want to be ridiculed by the Citrus Chronicle and other media. I think I'll just sit back and, don't make any waves. That's the kind of spinelessness that, they would have Founding Fathers would have given you a good swift kick in the rear end for saying something like that, and show some guts. Come on. It's just a pinprick financially of what you are paying to the ALA, but, one pinprick to them after another is going to eventually shut them down. And if she's a Marxist and she believes in collective power, well, let you show the collective power to say, we're going to shut her down. Let her be the victim of the sword she wields against us. Do you have it in you to do that? Shouldn't take much. You know, it's just got to make a simple decision. Stick by it. You know, do what you know is right and don't worry about what the Chronicle is going to say about you. Okay, that's about all I got to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name's Gil Phelan. I'm from Lecanto. Yeah, I don't want to rehash, you know, the stuff everybody else said. I think we're all on the same page with that. What's becoming apparent to me, though, is that as our country is going down the toilet, it's really started from this level. It's not from the top down, it's from the bottom up. And that's why it's important for all us to be here. And I like the guy there said, you know, we can't be spineless. Supporting this creepy bunch of wackos is not something any percentage of the citizens of this county want. I mean, it might be a small percentage, but the vast majority of us are telling you to stop this stuff. We didn't have your support to stop the queer displays in the library, right? We forced it on everybody. You know, it's still in the back burner, though. Nobody's actually stopped it. They're, you know, hoping it's going to pop its head up again, I'm sure. But we're here, we're watching. If you do read their website, though, the other guy mentioned the BLM. That's important because they're Marxist thieves. I'm of the thought that everybody says, well, don't ban books. I'm not in favor of banning books at all. But I don't want these in the library at all. Just because we don't let them in the library doesn't mean they're banned. If you're a sick parent, I mean, there's a lot of people who take their kids to these drag queen story hours. I think they should be arrested and thrown in jail. You might have the picture there that John pointed out, that one supposed drag queen thing. It's got the horns on there. What does that have to do with being a drag queen? That's satanic. That's what they're doing to our children. Have you noticed that there's hundreds of thousands of children being sold into slavery from our own government? They can't account for 100,000 children coming across the border. It all starts here because we're saying it's okay. We're supporting these wacko groups like ALA. You really want to see something, and I'll cut it short. Go to the Boston, Massachusetts General Hospital website and take a look at the gender mutilations that they're doing on our children. You know, did you ever see them sculpt a penis on a young girl? You know, it's Frankenstein stuff, and this is where it comes from. Okay, this is exactly where it comes from. We're okaying it with our support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi there, John Reese from Homosassa. Been in county over 25 years and kind of want to leave the county, if we ever do, the way we found it, would seem to be a lot better. But anyway, I'm here primarily to stand with John Labriola and Christian family organizations and agree with everyone strongly that we shouldn't be funding the craziness. The other thing, though, that wasn't going to really say anything or speak, but I do want to say that we need our libraries. And we've had an experience, I'll bring my wife up next, this summer. The library can be an awesome, great place for kids and families if we so choose it to be. But obviously, if you're going to bring Satan on in and do all, we don't want our families there. Just shut it all down. But I do want my wife to share, which she will, that experience that we had with our grandchild over the summer. But other than that, I stand with defunding the ALA, and thank you for hearing us.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My name is Elaine Reese, and I'm from Homosassa. I'm his wife. But anyways, I had a great experience this summer with my grandson at the library for a library story time with the different librarians. And I went and popped around to all the different libraries. But I also raised my children in the libraries because I did a lot of homeschooling. I wanted my children to be critical thinkers. I wanted them to learn how to research and to find out information and question it. But I don't want to expose them to hypersexualities and different sexual things. I already felt like I fought it constantly with this phone. And seeing my children get onto sites and
things like that later, after I kind of discovered later that they actually ended up bumping into a lot of things that I wish they would have never seen at such a young age, through the computers. So I would like to try to protect them on that. But I also love the library, and that I got to discover, and with so many other families together, and we were community together. So I wasn't just like in my house and in my room, on a phone and computers, finding out all this information. We were finding out information together as a community. So I would like to protect them and keep them away from that. And I want to be the person that teaches them about proper ways of how to look at sex. So, but I did have a wonderful time at the library, and I think there's a lot of wonderful people that work at the library. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm Patrick Loring. I live in Homosassa. First, I want to thank everyone for the service on the board, and I do love the library, and I think you have some wonderful programs. However, I do support the information that's been given to you regarding the American Library Association. I'd like to quote, and I have to say it now, a real woman, Nikki Haley, regarding this subject, who was also running for president, but she feels this is one of the strong points in her campaign. What she says is, everywhere you look, leftist values are being pushed upon you, and the good news is Americans are starting to fight back. When Bud Light hired a trans influencer to pitch their product, outraged customers boycotted. And checking Google last night, it was over $325 million that they're down just from that quarter, the same quarter as last year. After Americans noticed Target promoting sexual confusion in children during Pride Month, the retailer's stock plummeted. And again, checking Google, I found that they lost over $10 billion. They're down. People are starting to realize that these things are important. And so that's why I'm here. And I do agree with the previous speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, my name is Terry Morrison. I'm from Lecanto, Florida, and I am also a Christian. I want to thank everyone here today who has talked about how wonderful the library has been. And like the mom who stood up here before me, I raised my daughter going to the library as well. You're doing a wonderful job. And I think a lot of the topics that have been brought up are a non-issue for us because we don't have Drag Queen Story Hour in Citrus County, and we've never proposed that. The American Library Association is a long list of recommendations and procedures that people have been following for a century. And you here on this board and most library systems know how to pick and choose to meet your community standards, and you've been doing that quite well. We don't need to throw the baby out with the bathwater over one issue and ignore all the positive things that the Library Association offers to the community and the library to make sure we keep doing the wonderful things that we have been doing. As a member, you are free to choose what pieces of their recommendations you wish to follow, and you've been doing an excellent job doing that. So I support your membership in the American Library Association because you've already shown us that you will use their best offerings to continue to make the Citrus County Library the cornerstone of our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Janet Genova from Hernando. I would just like to state my feeling that I am also in support of keeping the American Library Association membership. I find a lot of exaggeration and not much basis in reality as to our current libraries. I, too, value our library. And you are supporting the community as we need it to be supported. You're not going off haphazardly. You are successful. You bring our families in. You are very supportive. You have a feel for our community. The American Library Association has a mission. It includes all of us. It includes our community. And we are varied people. And I just give you my support.
Thank you. Next person, please.
Hi, everybody. I'm Gary from Hernando. I raised a daughter. I have 2 granddaughters in this area. I'm a dad and a grandfather. I protect their innocence with everything I got. I'm asking y'all to do the same. Clearly, our country's headed down in the wrong direction. It's not good. It doesn't get fixed from the top down. It gets fixed right here from the bottom up. It starts with small towns. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, my name's Mike Reynolds, new to the area, moved here 2 years ago from California. And I just want to share a little story, maybe paint a picture. I spent 24 years in the fire department, retired from the fire department, and then I started teaching kindergarten because my wife taught kindergarten and I was excuse me. I enjoyed my time off volunteering in her classroom so much that I decided to change careers. So I spent 20 years teaching kindergarten. Now, making that change in a later age in life and going to kindergarten, weird perception a lot of times. An old man teaching little kids. It had a weird vibe. Some people mentioned it, most people didn't. Most people appreciated it because I had the opportunity to be a male role model for a lot of kids that didn't have male role models. I was very proud of that. My wife and I used to go to Barnes & Noble to try to build up our library. We'd go to Barnes & Noble and we'd sit down in the little children's area and we'd pick out books. She'd go one way, I'd go the other way, and we'd sit down and we'd read these books to each other, see which ones we liked and which ones we'd enjoy with the kids. Before we knew it, sitting up there, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Barnes & Noble's setup. They usually have a little stage up there where readers can be. We'd just sit up there and we'd read these books to each other. Before we knew it, we'd had kids sitting around us listening to us read these books to each other. And I was just sitting here thinking right now, I didn't come here thinking I was going to speak, but I was just sitting back here and I thought, how would that look if I pulled one of these books that we're talking about, they're pretty controversial from the ALA. And I started reading those books out loud to my wife, to these other kids, strangers that I don't know. How would I have been perceived then? It probably would have been that first image that a lot of people said, an old man teaching kindergarten around little kids? Does that really look proper, appropriate? I just wanted to paint that picture because that's kind of what it would be like. If I went in and sat down in a Barnes & Noble and just started reading a book, one of these sexually explicit books, I would look like that pervert. So just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Yes, good morning to you. I didn't know whether I was going to speak. I didn't know about this meeting till recently. But I know some things about children. And they're vulnerable. And they go into a library and they're going to look. And kids, they're tempted, and they can easily be tempted to pick up things and look at things that they shouldn't be looking at. And as far as I know, from what I know, you're the ones that are going to make this decision. I believe that's correct. Am I right, sir? Whether this goes forward?
No, the librarians choose the books.
Right, but you're the board, don't you? Are you going to have anything to do with this decision?
No, it's the county commission.
Okay, but you're going to pass the information on. Well, it's been said, we've not heard anyone speak in favor of this. I have a grandson who's in the 9th grade. I have a great-granddaughter who just started kindergarten. My wife got her a beautiful T-shirt, and on it says, I'm ready to attack kindergarten. And She comes home, she's thrilled, but I want her to have an understanding of good things and right things and proper things. We don't need to give them things that are not good for them. We wouldn't feed our children things that were bad for them. So we have a choice as what we can do. And I just hope and pray that you'll pass the information on that you've heard today. And think about our children. They're dealing with enough as it is. And we can guard some of the things that they have to deal with. And I don't want to be critical of anybody. I just want to say, we as adults, it's our responsibility to do what we can for our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, I'm Marianne Parker from Homosassa. There are a few concerns that I have with budgeting money for the organization that does not protect the best interests of U.S. citizens, and more specifically, our children. I'm sure that the American Library Association had ethical standards when it was incorporated, but since then it seems to have been infiltrated with certain value policies that do not align with the values of our local communities, which would be fine if the majority of our citizens wanted to be indoctrinated into a morally depraved system. But according to many recent polls and school board meetings, parents do not approve of what's going on in the libraries, which are mostly under the umbrella of the ALA. You have heard this ad nauseum, but Drag Queen Story Hour depicting pornographic materials are not what parents signed up for when they take their kids to the local library, which again are under the umbrella of the ALA. If neon lights of this immoral behavior are not enough to sway you from giving financial funds to an organization which approves of grooming our children for the sexual pleasure of adults, then there's nothing more I can say, except may God have mercy on your soul. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hello, how are you today? Thank you for your service. I'm Mary Cedar, and I'm strongly opposed to the homosexual messages being sent to children. I have a speech problem. I'm sorry, I had an operation, so it affects my speech. But anyway, there's a thing called taxation without representation. We had a Boston Tea Party, remember? So this is a surefire case of taxation without representation. And I want you to consider our Constitution. You know, the First Amendment gives us the right to speak and to have liberty, but it does not give us the right to warp the minds of children. Our laws were written for morality, not immorality. It's just that, and one more thing I want to say. I was late here, so I didn't hear what people said. But, you know, the transgender operation on little girls before puberty, you know what that does to them? It makes the little girl's spine go crooked, so she will walk crooked as she gets older. These things are not good for the body, they're not good for the mind, and they're not good for the soul, and they're not good for you and me and our society. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning. I'm Deb Daniels. I'm a retired Citrus County school teacher. I taught middle school here in Citrus County for many years at Crystal River Middle. I want to remind everyone the mission of the public library is to provide free and open access to a broad range of materials and services to people of all ages and backgrounds. I am here to thank you for all you do. I know you're all volunteers. And I'm also here to support our library system and our librarians. Our libraries are essential to our democracy. An informed public constitutes our very foundation of a democracy. Libraries make democracy work by providing access to information so that citizens can make the decisions necessary to govern themselves. The American Library Association is the oldest and largest library association in the world. It was founded in October 6 of 1876, and the mission of the ALA is to provide leadership for the development, promotion, and improvement of library and information services and the profession of librarianship in order to enhance learning and ensure access to information for all. That's their goal. We have a small radical group of extremists who continue to try to divide our community. They display an irrational fear and an aversion to our members of our LGBTQ community, and they advocate for discrimination against them. They call our teachers and our librarians groomers without proof. They are now advocating to end our libraries membership in the ALA, the largest and most respected membership association in the world. It is a community of people working together to ensure that libraries remain vital centers of literacy, access, and opportunity. In America, we celebrate free speech and independent thinking. These are the ideals of our nation. Trying to limit or remove freedoms is not patriotic, it's censorship. Please do not allow this small radical group of extremists to impose a political agenda on our community. Please continue to fund membership in ALA. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more speakers?
My name is Frank Papson. I live in Arrowhead in Hernando, and I'm in here in opposition to everything that woman said. But in a very simply put, now the ALA has an agenda. And the question is, do you people approve their agenda? Because that's what you're doing when you support them. That's what you do when you turn around and give them dues. You want children reading that kind of material that they're supplying? That's up to you. You're the one that decided. My question is, why don't you have Hustler magazine in the children's section? Why don't you have Playboy in the child's section? You people joined this board so that you can turn around and pick out books for children to read, for adults to read, in every subject in the world, so that people have access to literature. Well, that's not literature, it's pornography. Teaching children sexuality is their parents' job, not the library, not the teachers, not any ALA union members. It belongs to the parents. If the parents don't do the right job, then somebody can come in, but those people need to have the proper credentials. They need to be able to say to the world, we know this because of this. But from what I see, and from what I understand, these people that go through these sexual mutilations, they got to go on drugs for the rest of their lives. And the reason why they go on drugs for the rest of their lives is to convince their body that they are what they claim to be. And that's, but that's off the subject. The subject being ALA, and I'm against supporting it. Now, you are custodians of taxpayers' money, and you decide how it's spent. And we're asking you, don't spend it that way. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Hi, my name is Lisa Cruz, and I'm a member of Citrus County. And I'm not going to be long. I'm just going to ask you to urge you to cut ties with the ALA for apparent reasons. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak? Okay, we'll now close the public comments portion. One more? Oh, I didn't see. I'm sorry.
My name is Antonia Orabona. It's unbelievable that we have to tell grown-ups not to teach pornography to children or to anybody. How ignorant have people become, all right? It programs the mind. Disney channels has already been programming the mind, all right? And that's why so many things are happening. I know a lot of people that are homosexuals because of pornography, okay? It programs the mind. Whatever you watch, that's what it is. And then here in other countries, they're killing, they're murdering the Christians, okay? So what's going on? People, wake up. How ignorant have we become? The presidents are turning in their oh my, it's unbelievable. How can we allow this? We're supposed to put a stop to it. Yeah, we're supposed to teach them in the schools. They teach supposed to teach math, history, English, what they used to teach. Now they're teaching abominations. And no wonder there's so many things happening. And you know what? In my history books, it called homosexuality a mental disorder. And that's what it is. It's against nature. And it's against the constitutions. How can we allow it? We need to get a good lawyer to put a stop to it. God's people need to wake up, you know? I mean, those are children, and you're training them in ungodliness. You're training them against nature. You're training them against abominations. We should be teaching them righteousness, and we should be righteous. It's unbelievable. Okay, yes, you believe in the Big Bang. Oh, yeah, everybody believes. Everything came into existence by a Big Bang, but you don't believe in the Creator, and which is so obvious, which a lot of presidents, a lot of people know what is right. We should know what is right. Why do we have to be telling people to know what's right, okay? We should know righteousness. Put a stop to it, you know? It's unbelievable. It's so sad. It's so ugly. Look at what they're doing to all these little children, to all these families. And the people, the grown-ups are ignorant too because they're watching the Disney Channel. And in there, they're teaching pornography, okay? And so they're programming their mind and they're so ignorant, you know? Oh, yeah, it's all right to teach them to be this and against nature. It's against the Constitution. How come we don't have a lawyer out there putting a stop to it instead of we haven't convinced people, oh, that's wrong, you know? We're adults. I never watch any pornography. My mom never did. I know none of my children ever did, you know? And they're very strong, and they know the Word of God, and they're very healthy. And I'm very healthy over 20, 30 years because I learned the Word of God, because he says not to eat scavengers, okay? And people don't, they say, oh, that's just for the Jews. Okay, they don't believe the Word of God. Yes, I'm finished.
Okay, thank you so much. Any other people would like to make a public comment? No, or anybody else coming up that I can't see? No? Okay, then this will close the public comment portion. And we'll move on to the next item. Do we have any special items? I see it on the agenda, but I'm not sure what that might mean.
And did we approve the minutes for last?
We did. Our board member asked if we approved the minutes of the last meeting, and I think we did. Okay. Okay, now we have the report of officers and standing work groups, but I think with our chair out and Neil out, do we have anyone else from a committee at all? Do we know what the status of Love Your Library is at the present time? Are they still working on that?
Still working on it. There's been no movement that I'm aware of on setting a date or anything like that.
Okay. All right, then we'll go on to the director's report, please.
Okay. Director's report. So library services overall doing very well. We're getting close to the end of our fiscal year, so we're wrapping up a lot of our projects. One of the projects that's ongoing is our print copy scan, which will bring wireless printing, print from home, and allow people to take or use card payments for printing. We're still working on that system. Could be a little while before that happens, but that's one of the goals that we're aiming for probably this upcoming year. Recently, we got a new library van. That was a big purchase for the library system because it's been in the works for about 2.5, 3 years, but supply chain issues and significant delays, I guess since COVID kind of put a delay on us purchasing a van, but we were able to get a new library van, so we're Very excited to have that to make our library a little bit more efficient and updated.
Can I ask how many miles were on the old one?
233,000.
Okay.
So we still technically have that van, but we now have the new van to replace it. Yes, so it was overdue for a replacement. Last thing I want to kind of share as far as a director's update, I'll try to be brief about this, but I gave you all, in front of you should be a short statistics sheet. It's maybe a quarter of a page. Might be the very bottom piece of paper you have there. But just to give you an idea of how the library is trending in a lot of things that we look at, that I'm specifically looking at to measure if our libraries are moving forward in a positive direction. New library cards issued. We issued 21% more library cards than we did last year. So that's a very strong sign that people are coming, they're signing up for new cards, they're utilizing our library. Other things, we're seeing that library visitation is up by 7%. So that's heading again in a positive direction. Overall circulation of materials. So interest in our library collections is up 10%. That's both in physical materials that are on the shelf and then also digital materials. So very strong positive that people are still using our libraries and are continuing to appreciate the materials and programs that we're providing. Only things that are really going down that we're kind of expecting are public computer use. As more people get their own mobile devices, laptops, phones, things like that, they're using our computers less. They're connecting to our Wi-Fi. That's why you see some of those kind of numbers go up. They're bringing their own devices in to use our network rather than use our physical computers. So we do see a little bit of a decline there. Young adult program attendance is down. We kind of shifted our focus on that. We're offering less of those programs and putting more into the kind of early literacy type programs. So you'll see that one has increased quite a bit. So that's kind of an update on where our libraries are. We track this every single month to see where we're going month to month. Everything right now is pointing in a very positive direction that people are using our libraries more. I will say that over the next year, we may notice a fair drop in a lot of these numbers, but that's nothing to be really alarmed about. And that's almost entirely due to the fact that we're going to be doing a renovation next year at the Lakes Region Library, which is our second largest branch. So service will be limited to that branch. We may reduce programming there. There may be some times that certain parts of the collection are unavailable. So it being our second largest branch and our second busiest branch, obviously there'll be some decline there because people can't use it full function as they would have been.
This is in 2024?
2023-24, yes.
Okay,
next
so
fiscal year.
You're just about ready to start in several months renovation?
Yes, we're hoping to start renovations October 1st, maybe leading into November, depending on how contracts or things get drawn up with different vendors. But our aim is to start, we should be ready to start October 1st. The funding is all secured, it's all there. But just an awareness that if you see these numbers decline a little bit next year, one reason for that, possibly not the only reason, but one reason will be because of renovation.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other items on that? No?
No.
And how about the Family Foundation status report?
Okay, U.S. Family Foundation, the fund currently sits at $443,000 and change. I think you all have that handout. It went down around, got the number here, $232,000, but that was mostly due to the fact that the board approved last meeting to put $300,000 into the renovation of Lakes Region Library, but there was some additional growth in that account. So instead of being down $300,000, it's only down $232,000. So it's not as, it didn't take all of them, $300,000 that way.
And it's just fluctuating with the market, basically.
It is, yes.
Okay. Then our region managers updates.
Good morning. I've been spending a lot more of my time over at the Lakes Region Library for the upcoming renovation project. The staff are really excited and looking forward to having an updated look. We've been busy reorganizing closets and cleaning out other areas that have been storage for a long time. Also, the literacy program continues to be successful. 3 students recently completed a 6-week citizenship class. 2 of them are going on for their citizenship interview, and we'll hear back from them in September whether or not they passed. This has been so popular that the Lakes Region Library has asked that we start citizenship classes there. They've had some interest, so that will also begin. And if anybody knows of any math tutors, we are desperately in need of math tutors. So if you know of anyone, please let someone at the library know. Thank you.
Debbie?
Good morning. C4Con is right around the corner, September 23rd. That's at the Homosassa branch. But before that, we're having the countdown. And there's events going on at all the branches. On August 26th, Homosassa is going to have their arcade game day. On August 28th, Central Ridge has an augmented reality experience. This one's pretty exciting. September 2nd, Lakes Region's going to have a voice acting workshop, and I just saw on Facebook that event is full. So all the registrations are taken. Then on September 6th, Central Ridge is going to have a watercolor heroes event. And Lakes Region on the 9th is having the day the earth stood still. They're going to have open auditions for that there. And that's with the Valerie Theater and their troupe of actors. So Floral City is also going to have their D&D workshop on September 18th. Another thing going on is the Master Gardeners are back. They're at all the branches. And they're going to be there at every library. So if you want to learn about gardening, they're a great resource. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have the public relations update.
This is a little short for me today. Okay, maybe. Maybe. Okay, I'll just talk loud. You guys can normally hear me. So good morning. I have a couple of papers for you in your pile of paperwork. Mine happens to be the most colorful of them, probably. So a big thank you to our youth librarians for having a very successful summer reading program that ran from June 1st through to July 15th with our closing celebration on July 20th. And so our last meeting, we hadn't officially wrapped our summer reading yet, but our fantastic digital services librarian whipped up this lovely little statistical paper for you. And so you'll see here that we gave out 22 different prizes. And so that includes some kayak trips donated by Hunter Springs Kayaks and Crystal River. We had gift baskets that were donated by the Friends of the Library as well as the Homosassa Walmart. And then new this year, we celebrated our Readers of the Week, which was just an additional promotion to encourage our students to be reading throughout the summer. And so part of those bags, they got book sale bucks so they can go to either of the two book sales, which you have flyers for as well sitting in your packets, to spend their book sale bucks. They got a book light and a water bottle in this lovely little drawstring backpack if they were selected as one of our 25 Readers of the Week. I had one of the little girls who won. She told me, I'm so excited. I have a book light now. I won't have to hold a flashlight in my mouth to read at night. Her mom was like, thank you, thank you. I think myself and the dentist will both appreciate that. So they were very excited for their prizes. You'll see here that we had 445 readers registered in Beanstack, and there's a little pie chart that's broken out with the numbers on the side. Total, there were 253,219 minutes logged, which comes out to 176 days of reading combined when all 445 people logged their minutes. We had more than 2,000 people attend programs with more than 82 programs held. You'll see here that our top 3 most attended programs, the first one was our Touch a Truck event, which we talked about a little bit at our last meeting. And so we held 2 of those, one at our Lakes Region branch in June and one at our Homosassa branch in July. And so you'll see some of those supporters listed there on the bottom. We had mosquito control out, both the Inverness Fire Department and our local Citrus County Fire Rescue came out and supported, as well as Duke Energy and the Sheriff's Office. So it was a huge success, and the families that came were thrilled to participate. And then of that number that Adam gave earlier with the number of library cards, we did 1,032 library cards from June 1st to July 15th. So that's our staff members were busy bees putting out all of those new library cards for our patrons. And so we're very excited with just the success that we had with our summer reading program this year. A couple of other things upcoming. You'll start hearing about some of the outreach events that we will be attending in the coming months. Fall is a very busy time for us. If you see me running around like a crazy person at any of the libraries, it's because we're probably getting ready for an outreach event. We typically attend the Scarecrow Festival in Crystal River. We will be at the new Walk of Arts Festival that is being hosted at the beginning of November. We are typically at the Trunk or Treat event that the YMCA hosts. So we're a little bit of everywhere. And I'm crossing my fingers that our fancy new library van will be with us at those events as well. So you guys can see the new van with significantly lower than 200,000 miles on it. And then the other packets of paper include some of the book displays that we will be debuting in the libraries for October, November, and December. So just a couple of highlights. The Central Ridge branch, you'll see at the top, they have that really large kind of square for theirs. They have a section and an area in the library where they can help kind of promote some of the other programs that they have upcoming. So there's a tech talk upcoming for meal kits. There's some local garden enthusiasts who are coming in to do a wildflower program. And then our good friends over at the UF IFAS Extension Office will be coming in and doing a class for cooking for 1 or 2. So they will be pulling gardening books, cookbooks, and different things that kind of help showcase the different programs that they have upcoming. October is National Dyslexia Awareness Month, and so there will be book displays that talk about dyslexia, and then books that are also included in that display will have that special open dyslexic font that allows books to be able to be read easily by those who are living with dyslexia. And then November, there will be some diabetes awareness book displays because that is National Diabetes Awareness Month, and a whole slew of cookbooks. It's a very cookbook heavy quarter for us between Thanksgiving and Christmas. You'll see cookbooks pretty much everywhere. Don't be surprised if someone tries to tell you to try out these special new recipes that they have tried themselves, because our staff also love checking out the cookbooks. And then there will be some different wrap-up book displays in December that focus on some of those top checked out items from the year. So we'll be wrapping up the year. Yes, some of our youth librarians will also be using wrapping up. They'll be wrapping books. They like the puns. They really do in our youth librarians area. And I believe that's everything I had for you today.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there any other old business? Any other things that want to be mentioned under old business before we start the budget?
Just a quick question. What is the status on filling the vacant seat? Have we sent that to
I think the deadline I heard for submissions was August 25th.
August 25th, yes.
So that's the deadline for submission.
Okay.
And then after that, then there'll be a review of it. And then ultimately, the decision goes to the committee that the council that is composed of the 5 council
special tax index
district. So so it's the 5 county commissioners plus the representative of Inverness plus the representative of Crystal River. So those 7 people will make the final decision. Any other old business? Okay, let's move on then to the new budget for the coming year. Want to take over for this, Adam?
Yes, I think you have the board meeting dates first, though, on H1.
Yes, correct.
Yep. So you skipped one, Ken. In the agenda, you got H1 first, approval of proposed library district.
Oh, the board meetings, right.
Yes.
I've already thrown that away. Oh, it's right here in front of me. Okay, do we look at the new dates for the coming year for the meetings? Any comment on that? Any conflicts that you can see right now? So we're talking about 2024, February 27th, April 23, June 25, August 27th, October 22nd, and December 3rd. Okay, do I have a motion to approve those dates?
Are these all on Tuesdays?
They will be on the standard Tuesdays, right? At 8 o'clock here in this room.
Okay, motion to approve.
Any second on that, please? Second, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? Okay. So the dates for the next year's meetings are approved. Now we go into the budget. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so the budget for this upcoming year, this is the preliminary budget. It still has a couple more meetings before it's finalized and adopted. It's usually at the last meeting in September that everything is completely finalized. But this is our proposed budget for the upcoming fiscal year. I do want to apologize to all of you that I got this out to you kind of late. That wasn't my intention to get it out so late, but I've been working through a couple things on the budget, which will change a couple of these. The total numbers will stay the same, but some of the accounts may shift. And that's entirely due to two projects that we have. One I mentioned earlier was the print copy scan. Since that project isn't getting done this year, we're going to roll it into next year. So that still needs to be officially rolled in, so you'll see a change there in the upcoming weeks. And then the other thing that's upcoming with our library system is our janitorial contract that we have with an outside vendor. They have terminated that contract effective August 31st. So we're looking at different ways to restructure our budget to be able to pay for janitorial service next year. It shouldn't be an issue, but that will create some movement in that janitorial line, whether it goes more into supplies or if we hire different people to kind of fill those custodian positions. We're looking at some different options to move that forward. But that is partially the reason why the budget came out so late, is because I'm just I want to get you guys the most complete information I have, and that was a little bit of a delay. Okay. So if you want to go ahead and start on the second page of this budget, it starts with 6212 libraries. One thing I want to point out, I'm just going to go over some of the changes, some highlights in here for you all. I know some of you are new to the board and looking at our budget, so I want to make sure I cover as much of this as you need. And then if you have questions, please do ask. But regular salaries and wages, that one has jumped considerably from what we recommended or what we had last year. It's gone up by about $300,000. That's the primary reason for that is because the county has undergone an entire class and pay study to determine where pay level should be for positions based on kind of competitive analysis around the surrounding counties. So every single position within our county structure has undergone a class and pay study, and they found a lot of our positions proposed would increase based on their findings. So you'll see there's a big jump there. That's done by an outside consultant for the county. They made that determination. So that's why that big jump is there. I mentioned the janitorial service. We spend around $77,000 on janitorial. That's going to get reallocated somewhere in our budget for us to work through janitorial. All right, and if we can jump to page 4 on here, it breaks it out a little more kind of cleanly. Page 4 starts with fiscal year 24 expenditure detail. And I'll go over some of these different things line by line, and if you have questions about them, please let me know. One of the big things in the first section is the Microsoft 365 setup. We intend to migrate to Microsoft 365 for our library service. The rest of the county is on that, so it'll allow us to kind of communicate better with the county, and we'll have a single platform instead of a patchwork of different platforms. So we're looking forward to that change this upcoming year. Let's see, we have a lot of the standard stuff with software service. We're going to continue with Beanstack. We've got, because our janitorial contract's going to change. Let's see, we've got some of our things in here you're going to see in 54,000, that account. It says ALA/NLLD. Point of clarification on that, the first line of that stands for American Library Association, which I know there was a lot of comment about today, and we can dive into that a little bit if you guys would like. But the other piece of that is Library Legislative Day, which is up in Tallahassee each year, which is what we typically attend. We don't typically attend the American Library Association. We go to the National Library Legislative Day up in Tallahassee, which advocates for libraries in Florida, funding, talking about the importance of libraries and the work that we do. So even though they're both there, that line is typically used for Legislative Day. There's other travel and training there. One of the things that we're going to be talking about with the strategic plan is building up our training for library services and library staff. We've got a couple retirements coming up in the next couple of years that we're looking to make sure we bolster our knowledge in certain areas. One of the big ones in there is IT firewall security. We do have, our IT department is a team of 2. So we want to make sure that everyone in that department is fully trained on the latest security and firewall threats that may be coming, because we do have a lot of information stored on our computers through our kind of staff and admin side, but we also have over 130 public computers that patrons can access and use every single day. So we want to make sure that our staff are fully trained on best practices of keeping those computers secure.
Is there been any evidence of your system trying to be hacked? Because I know a number of systems around are not just libraries, but
right.
Have been hacked in the last few years.
No evidence of that historically, no. This is just a way to kind of further kind of give us that extra step. The county does have a system where they've got a pretty good security system with everything. Nothing is foolproof, but it is very good. And then we get typically monthly or quarterly trainings on different threats that may be coming out that all staff are required to go through. So we know, like, don't click on suspicious links, don't do this. So we go through a lot of those kind of trainings as well to keep that safe. This is just an extra layer of kind of certification for some staff to make sure they're very aware. We have travel mileage. We have staff that go between branches for various reasons, whether it's programming, whether it's branch coverage, IT support, administrative support, things like that. So that's in there. Communication services, that's all of our phone and internet. That's pretty much just a standard cost. We have to have phone and internet, so that's kind of in there. Utility service, that's all our electric, water, sewer, garbage, that kind of stuff. That's fairly standard as far as what we would need to have to operate a building. And then we have, jumping a little bit further down, we have vehicle maintenance. So we have our ongoing maintenance with our vehicles, so we have a budget for that. One thing that's in there is a vehicle wrap for the van. So we are going to put a library wrap on our van in order to kind of make it look a little more attractive as it drives down the road, because it does go through the entire county every single day, 5 days a week. So it goes from Beverly Hills all the way to Floral City and then back. So it's good advertisement for the library, let people know that we have a library system, and they can kind of track it that way. All right. Jumping on to the next page, building maintenance. We have a lot of different line items here in building maintenance, but it's all the stuff, again, that you would need to help maintain public facilities. We've got things for fire alarm maintenance and monitoring, sprinklers, HVAC, light electrical, painting, pressure washing, all those things that you need for building maintenance. Some of those accounts did increase a little bit from the last year. If you look back at last year's budget, you'll see a little bit of a difference. Primary reason for that is we're expecting that with everyone's salaries potentially going up, those services will cost us a little bit more, because a lot of that stuff is done in-house, and we get billed by the county for that. So something that might have cost $12 now might cost $13. Okay, software maintenance support. So we have a lot of various programs that we use as far as to allow people to search for books. We have things for PC management, so people can log into our computers, they can sign in, they can print, those types of things. And then a lot of this is like security stuff to keep our computers safe with a lot of the software. And then we have our printing and promotional activities. This is all the stuff that we take to outreaches and help us kind of promote and advertise our library system to whether it's new residents or if we're taking it out to just any event that we need. We have different promotional materials, stuff to promote our programs. We have refunds because occasionally people lose items and then they pay for them, then they bring them back a month later and say, I found this. So we have to have a way to account for that when we give them that refund. We have office supplies. That's pretty standard. Office non-cap equipment. You're going to see quite a bit in here. This is different from what we would see in a typical year. And that's because we took some of the budget that we have and we put it into kind of helping with the renovation. So it's replacing some old book carts, adding some additional furniture, some additional seating, adding some new tables and chairs. All our libraries hopefully will get those water bottle refilling stations, so you can no longer just use a water fountain, but you can also have kind of filtered water out of one of those. We have one at Central Ridge, and it's very, very well used. So we're going to try to expand that to all 5 branches next year, just so we have that kind of nice feature for everyone to use, because we do get a lot of traffic in the buildings. And then we have some youth room furniture replacements as well. That again is going to go towards the Lakes Region Library, where we're going to add new furniture in there, some different seating, some new tables, just to update some of the furniture. Because as we've been going around with Lakes Region looking at a renovation, we noticed that some of the furniture that we have, some of the chairs, is original to the building. And that's going on 37 years. So it's time to kind of update and replace some of those kind of chairs that are worn out. They've lasted an incredibly long time, and we've gotten our value out of it. But it really is time to just make sure we have, something a little bit newer and updated, whether we have stuff with power put in it or just a nicer, kind of more modern look. Operating supplies. This is just a lot of the different things that we use to operate our libraries. So it's like toner and printer ink, it's library cards, it's envelopes to mail out library cards and letters to people, different operating supplies if people need pencils, glue, tape, that kind of stuff. It's all kind of line itemed in here for people. In their operating budgets, each branch has its own separate budget that they kind of use that for. Then we have fuel and janitorial supplies. Pretty self-explanatory with those things. We use that for the van, and then we have cleaning supplies. All right. On the next page, you'll see meals. Meals is really only for our big volunteer appreciation event that we have each year. It's the only thing that we really purchase food for that event is just to put on that event for all of our volunteers, thanking them for all of the hours that they give and all the support they do for the libraries. I know most of you have attended those in the past, so that's what that line item is about. And then computer accessories. This one, ongoing computer maintenance. We replace our computers on a cycle, so you'll see there's a budget item for that. And then network switches is a big expense there, but we're just upgrading some of our older network switches to make them kind of function and last a little bit longer. And it goes with our kind of IT plan going forward. We're trying to make sure that we're staying on top and being current with all those things. All right, books, dues, and subscriptions. We have a list of different things that the library does provide and subscribe to. American Ancestries, American Library Association, which I'm sure we'll circle back to and have questions on. Let's see. We go with the Chronicle, Florida Library Association. A couple new things that will be in next year's budget, just to give you a heads up, will be Canopy. That one is a streaming service that we're hoping to be able to provide to all of our patrons. It's a much, much more scaled down version to like Netflix, where we'll be able to have, let's say, 2,000 different movies and TV shows that people with a library card can go and they can view. So
they'll be able to access from home or in the library?
They'll be able to access it from anywhere. It's a one set price we pay. It's going to be just over $3,000. We'll have access to a large catalog of media, and then people can use those whether it's at home or at the library.
And so basically, though, they have to sign into their library account.
Yes.
To get in. I see.
Yeah, you'd access it with your library card, and then you can view the material that's on that catalog. And it's the nice thing about it is a lot of the structures, they usually do like a pay-per view or pay-per download. So if somebody were to download one movie, it would cost us $2. But this one is just as many times as somebody downloads it, it's one price. So it's a very nice option for us. And it means more than one person can use it at the same time, which is kind of a concern that we have with some of our other digital services and obviously our physical materials. If you check out a book or a DVD, you're the only person that can use it, whereas Canopy, anybody can use it multiple times. I'm going to jump to the next page. Again, there's a lot more in training as well because we're trying to build up that training of our staff to make sure that we're prepared for any future retirements, and just to kind of give staff, a lot of our newer staff that have joined our libraries, just give them that extra support to know best practices and feel more comfortable and confident with upcoming things within our library. Let's see. Library books and publications is towards the middle there. This differs from last year's budget. We added quite a bit of money to the library's kind of books and publications because we are continuing to build up our library's collection. And one of my goals for this year was rather than have to try to decide if we need to buy less physical materials and more digital, we can just buy pretty much the same amount of physical materials, but we added money so we can continue to buy more digital materials because we're seeing a lot more people use our digital services. We want to make sure that we're continuing to build more materials for them, more content, because that's one that people can access 24/7. If they're going on Libby and downloading a book, it's available whenever they'd like. So that was just a quick overview of some of the highlight pieces of our budget. Does anybody have specific questions about a line item that you'd like me to talk more in depth about?
Let's go back to this ALA item of $275. What actually does that do?
Okay, so the ALA $275, it pays for a individual membership, not an organizational membership, and that the actual membership fee is less than $80 right now. So it pays for one individual membership, but it provides access. What we primarily use it for is access to different materials that we can purchase from them, and we get discounts on purchases. So there are a lot of things, as you heard today, on ALA's website. We don't have anything to do with the majority of those things. Things that we do purchase, I've got a list here of things that we've purchased recently from them. The Library's Guide to Homelessness, library signage and wayfinding design, communicating effectively with your users. These are the types of things that we're buying from ALA to help our library staff become more knowledgeable about library service in general. The Weeding Handbook, which deals about collection management, when to reduce collections, giving us best practices in those regards. When to add things to collections, what are the statistics showing us as far as one of the big questions we have now is our reference collection. Should we shrink that down? Should we keep it going? How do we maintain it? How do we update it? So we get books and kind of guidance on that from them. Library marketing communication, strategies to increase relevance and results. Library programming for adults with developmental disabilities, and fostering wellness in the workplace. So those are the most recent things we've bought using our ALA membership as far as books. So we do use it primarily for discounts. We buy posters and bookmarks occasionally from ALA, which does provide us discounts for that. And then having that membership also opens up opportunities to be able to provide grants or find grants. They push out a lot of information about grants that are available. One of the big grants that we got historically was working with ALA, in partnership with ALA. They did a lot of surveys for bringing like public computers or internet access into libraries years ago. But those grants are worth several $1,000s that we work with. ALA does like surveys and things about socioeconomic status of communities and things, joblessness, unemployment, median income, all those type of things. And then, in partnership, we're able to use that information to further apply for grants and things.
Anybody else have any other questions on the budget items?
I actually have several. So, and traditionally, my style is I would have brought this to Director Chang and discussed it before the meeting, but considering how late we got the budget, and I understand why, but I was up till after midnight last night reading through this thing, so I didn't think it was appropriate to call you then. The couple things. Number one, obviously, I guess we'd just eat the frog first. Is with the ALA. So, I know what you said, and I just want to make sure that we're saying this correctly. The ALA is not a organizational membership; it's a individual membership, and I would assume that would be for the director personally. Correct.
Correct. Yes.
And then we're using it as basically an informational source to provide statistics and resources such as that predominantly, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Is there any other organization out there that is comparable?
Not at a national level. We also work with the Florida Library Association, but nothing comparable to the American Library Association, no.
And so my question would be, would the Florida Library Association, would that organization be enough to obtain certain grants that we would want to obtain?
No, because they don't. The ALA looks at a national kind of federal level. A lot of times FLA is looking at it at the state level. There is the Public Library Association, which I didn't mention that one, but that is also another option as far as organization we do not belong to. I don't have the numbers on that one, but I know a lot of times the Public Library Association dues and fees, I think, are more expensive historically. And historically, it was better to be part of the national organization because it encompassed so much. But I do see that, just in all fairness, there is the Public Library Association that might be another avenue there.
And then with regards to the several of the details in the expenditure details, such as coupling together the ALA and the NLLD. Yeah. There's actually one, I believe there's 2 or 3 places where that is a detailed item in the budget. And my concern would be that for the sake of, well, let's just say my vernacular is limited at the moment for, just getting along. Why wouldn't we remove that ALA portion out of that detail if we don't actually attend a ALA conference? And there's not one in Florida offered. And there's obviously you're not going to travel to some of these other states for that amount of money. I think it would behoove us to just remove that portion out of there. That way it doesn't cause any confusion.
Correct. Yes. That again, it's all historical information. When the library conference was held in Orlando, it was a little bit easier for staff to travel when it comes around every X number of years. But when it is out of state, there's virtually no chance that we're going to go to that conference. But yes, I think as a clarification, that would make sense to separate that out because again, it's
that would be for the account numbers. Let's see, 55, 500, and
54,000.
54,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then with regards to in-vehicle maintenance, and this, if I have like a thing, budgets make me happy. So I look through these things. I'm concerned with using the vehicle wrap in vehicle maintenance because a vehicle wrap is not necessarily maintenance.
Okay.
I would be more comfortable with that in advertising or even possibly promotional, but more so in advertising. Yep. I understand the value of it. There's absolutely value in what you're asking for. I just think the value is advertising it, as far as maintenance concerned.
Right.
It's, it actually is damaging to paint. So
I can agree with you that some of these categories could be in different places, but that's unfortunately that's not set entirely by library services. We put the budget together and then the county's management budget will kind of move things where they believe it kind of
Understood.
belongs. So I don't know 100% why it's in maintenance, but I believe that that's the account the county has designated to belong in.
Okay, and then final concern is, and I understand a little bit of the details of this, but I would have a concern presenting this budget to the county commission with our approval without somewhere, I'm not even saying an expenditure detail, but at least a line item detail for the Lakes Region remodel. That is going to be revenue next year. It will take place in the next fiscal year, and obviously the expenditures will take place in this next fiscal year. I don't think that I can accurately recommend a budget that's not complete.
Right.
Honestly,
That renovation will be a completely separate account. It won't impact this budget. It's not going to get kind of commingled into this.
right.
I can have, if you want, the chair can have Eric
Yes.
come up and further clarify that, since it's such an obscure thing to have renovation.
So that would be like a capital improvement that's not in the actual maintenance budget of the library.
Except for the furniture and stuff like that.
Correct. There are line items, there are some minor line items in there for some furniture upgrades, which are going to occur anyway, and Adam and I worked through that. Basically, we have two funding sources that are coming through for this project, for the renovations. You have $300,000 that was received from the foundation that you went through in the last meeting. We also have $300,000 coming from what would be referred to as the ARPA funds that the county has designated. The board is designating that portion. Those are just chunks of funding at the moment. As Adam mentioned, both of those funds will be put into a separate account that has a completely different number than the libraries, which will be tracked separately. Even both of how those two funds are used, either granting or ARPA funds, have to be tracked separately. All of those have to go back before the BOCC for budget transfers to put those expenditures in the proper accounts anyway. So all of that goes back before them as a separate item as we move forward with the project. So it just isn't there yet. In fact, I think they just allocated, well, it's actually on the board meeting today where they're going to be allocating that ARPA funding. So as the budget gets completely built before the end of September, that will then be put in there.
And so I would assume that would be made available to us.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Adam will be able to share that with you as soon as those individual accounts go through, because you will be breaking it down into internal construction, carpet vendors, flooring type vendors, furniture vendors. They will all go into those appropriate accounts, and it would be separated. Right now, it's all in one big account. Well, two. One for each of the $300,000 allocations.
But so my understanding is then that for the renovation is going to be an entirely separate budget with itemized detail.
Correct.
It's not part of this.
It's not part of the general budget for 23-24. It'll be a separate, it'll be integrated into it, but it's a separate project. It'll even have a separate number. All libraries is under 6212 at the top of your list. It will have a completely different fund number.
So it'll be
Actually,
basically an amended budget.
Correct.
And then it's all monitored by the county.
Correct. Yes, OMB and the county. And all of those expenditures, as a whole, any budget transfer where, these are just the revenue sources as they get appropriated into the individual expenditure accounts, those budget transfers, all that goes before the board.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for Eric?
Yes, I have a question. Oh, no, not for Eric. I'm sorry. You're good, Eric. But I do want to have a question or two about the ALA information that you gave as far as like the one individual membership that helps with discounts and grant partnerships and grant opportunities and things like that. Now, we also have $1,500 of annual dues to TBLC.
Yes.
And that's our library consortium, who probably also has some type of connection with ALA, I'm sure. Okay. And so a couple of things come to my mind, and that is as far as purchasing of materials, books, and things for staff for professional development and just knowledge base. Those items can also be gotten through interlibrary loan and other sources through TBLC as far as like their lending libraries and things like that, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay. And then also Same thing as far as like grant opportunities and grant funding, being able to partner not only through TBLC, but through your public library connections, your public library association, which you do go to the public library conference or directors meeting, right?
Yes, I haven't been to one yet, but yes.
Okay. And so I know that you have a connection there. And so really in truth, we do not need, now this is just my analysis. We really do not need a membership to ALA. And as far as for this particular year, we could actually at least join a nationwide movement of libraries dropping ALA at least until further consideration in future years as their, hopefully, leadership changes. Yes, that was a statement. That wasn't a question.
Okay.
But it's a possibility, correct?
Correct, yes. I do want to point out a lot of those things, yes, are true. And on the surface, when you mentioned we could interlibrary loan books, yes, we can. There are times where we buy more than one particular copy of a book because staff want to have kind of more of a workshop and discuss things like, particularly on homelessness, we have multiple copies of that book because that's a challenge that our libraries are facing. So interlibrary loans, something like that, wouldn't fit our needs. However, that doesn't mean that we couldn't just pay full price for the book. It just depends where the savings the county wants to have with that would fall. But just to clarify that sometimes the interlibrary loan doesn't solve all of our issues.
Doesn't always cover it, right?
Yeah.
But I do agree that full price for main issues that are affecting our community may be worth it rather than continuing our membership with ALA.
Okay.
Any other comments? So am I clear then on these items where we have the ALA/NLLD on these few item numbers? We're striking the ALA portion since you rarely go to these things?
I can, yes.
And this has just been a carryover year after year after year after year. How many years have our library system been affiliated with ALA?
Don't
10,
have
20?
that specific number, but I would go back as far as 15, 20 years probably since inception. So,
okay, and I think one of the speakers said that ALA was founded in 1876.
yes.
So it's old. Okay, what is the period of tenure of the elected president of their officers?
1 year.
1 year.
Yes.
Can they be renewed, or is it just a rotating?
It's 1 year. Then they vote. They've already got the next one, I believe, lined up. It's not a renewal of president.
So
Right. Then I think it goes to like past president or most recent past president.
And are they like on the council or something?
They're not necessarily, I don't think they're, I could be wrong. I don't think their voting status is the same any longer, but they are still affiliated and they still have influence, I guess you could probably say.
They do have a 15-member board, the committee, that's kind of making those higher level decisions. It's not entirely put on that president. It's, I don't want to say it's entirely a figurehead position, but there's a good deal of that.
Okay. All right. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have a question on the dues on. It's a cost account number 55400. It says BKS. Is it Subscription Memorial Publishing? What is that for?
Sorry, can you give me the number again? 400.
400.
400.
Your cost center.
And which one is it, Elaine?
It says dues BKS subscription, I think. Memorial Publishing or
Yes, that's just the account heading for all of those items. So it's dues, books, subscriptions, and publications for all those different services.
Okay.
It's all been lumped together, distinguished by the county.
And then when I think of the library, I think of books. And so is it my understanding that you're renting movies now too, like Blockbuster did?
Yes, we have done for at least the last, I would say, 15 years. We've had DVDs available in the libraries.
Okay. Interesting.
So basically, that means all what you now call media, so books, DVDs, whatever.
Yes.
But physical items as opposed to the digital items.
We also have some digital mixed in there as well.
So they're in there?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
so-
all
so-
inclusive in that one.
So anything that can be checked out either in person or by digital, okay?
Yes.
Just as long as we can avoid the software maintenance fees as often as you can, because they loop you in there and they will start charging you for one tool access after another. Just be wary of that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions on the budget?
I'll make a motion to discontinue our membership dues to the ALA.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, okay. Any discussion of this particular motion?
I'd like to discuss. So, I understand things are some
Point of order, sorry. We have to go open to the public.
Excuse me?
Any motion has to have an open to the public.
Okay.
Yep. Sorry, Justin.
No, thank you.
Yes, I just wanted to
One second.
definitely.
Hang on.
Oh,
Get the timer going.
Yeah, so I like the motion. I really appreciate Edith Ramlow's expertise as a librarian for the College of Central Florida. So I mean, I think this board, should definitely look to her expertise in this area. And she did. There was a question back and forth. I believe the director acknowledged what she had to say, and the idea that we're making a statement here. It's not about the monetary amount. It's about the statement, and it's very important because that statement, sends a signal to libraries across Florida. Just like when one of the counties in Texas did this, that the Texas Public Library Commission immediately took notice, and they withdrew as well. So it's a very important statement to make as Citrus County that we do not stand for this. And as long as Emily Dobrinsky, is immediate past president, she has influence, as Edith said, this board should follow her recommendation here and Elaine's recommendation and withdraw from the ALA. And as Senator Rubio said, we need to have an investigation into what the ALA is doing in terms of utilizing any funds that they're receiving from us or from anywhere else to discriminate against Christian publishers like Brave Books and Kurt Cameron. Whatever benefits, as Elaine said, there's different ways to get the same benefits. And, we need to look at the fact that we're sending a signal and that we need to make a strong statement that we should withdraw from the ALA. And I think going along with Elaine's recommendation would do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Frank Thompson again. There's maybe a little bit of misunderstanding on my part. I'm under the impression that you are the board that chooses what books gets brought in here, but I see people shaking their head saying, you don't choose what books are brought in here. Who does?
The library staff.
And who controls the library staff? I mean, does the library staff have control over what they bring into with no oversight by anybody else? And don't they have to answer to someone? And if they don't have to answer to someone, then regardless of what you people do, they can still do what they want to do. unless they're under supervision, and they can be turned around and say, no, you can't do this, because it's the way things go. I mean, you have people on the bottom, and they got somebody on top of them that says you can do this, you can do that, and what's the purpose of canceling this subscription to these people if it's not going to make any difference and these people on the bottom can do whatever they want? So in addition to canceling that, I think you people need to take control over what material goes into our children's brains, because they're sponges. And they pick up a book and they start reading the book, and they don't know the difference between right and wrong or good or bad. You know, and it's important that we turn around and give them the opportunity to learn the difference between good and bad. And homosexuality, it's been here since the beginning of time, and it'll be here long after every one of us is gone. And it's not, you know, that's their lifestyle, and I don't care about that. All I care about is the brainwashing of our children. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to ask y'all, do y'all ever pray before your meetings? I just wondered.
I pray every morning.
Huh?
I pray every morning.
Well, I do too, but I was talking about before the meeting. I was just wondering. You know, you cannot be tempted with anything you do not see or hear. If you ain't got nothing in them libraries the kids could see that's demonic and all that, they can't be tempted by it. When you got it in there, you're tempting them. The Word of God says anybody that hurts the children would be better off with a millstone tied around their neck, thrown in the bottom of the ocean. The decisions we make in America right now is going to put you in that position or not. You need to think about that. Your vote on things makes a difference because you're part of it when you vote for it. Thank you. Blessings.
Thank you. Any board members have any discussion now? Jason?
Yeah, I'd like to say something. So, first of all, I will say this. Number one, I appreciate all those who have spoke. I do appreciate that my amendment failed last time. I will say that some of the personal attacks on the board members and the library staff are, in my opinion, ridiculous. I was hoping Mr. however you something you say was here still. That's not appropriate. I don't know if he proposes to be a Christian or not, but I, as a Christian, don't think that's appropriate to address people who are created in the image of God in the manner that which he did. I can agree with him on a majority of what he said, but I think sometimes you got to stand up, and that was wrong. And these people are fine individuals. They spend a lot of time. They spend a lot of effort into doing what they do. They serve at the request of their government. They serve free of charge. And I'm speaking of my peers. Of course, I'm speaking of myself too, but I can handle myself by myself. Miss Benefield, in fact, prior to the previous meeting, actually called every library board, advisory board in the state of Florida, and even ended up calling one in Colorado. That's some fortitude. I think, these are good people. And I'll say this, no, we don't choose the books. We don't choose the books. If we did choose the books, I might have a little, something to say about a couple of them. But I will say this, the library staff, of course, chooses the books, but every request that I have went to Director Chang or even Mr. Head, they have heard my request and they have made adjustments where they could. And their managers are fine human beings. They are fine human beings. So to attack them it states ignorance, because if we don't know them, we can say whatever we want about them. But when we know them, we have to say something different. Now, with regards to the ALA, I personally don't understand why the Citrus County government is paying for a personal, individual membership to it. I don't think that is. I don't think that makes sense. It doesn't make financial sense to me. It doesn't make government sense. So I would support striking ALA from the budget. I don't think it's something we need. So to that discussion of that, I would support that amendment.
Any other comments on discussion? Was your motion? Would you like to make a
Yes,
comment?
I made a motion to remove membership dues to the ALA.
Yeah. Now, would you like to discuss your opinion on it?
Would I like to discuss it? Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone that's coming out and speaking out and standing up for what's right. It has nothing to do with anybody's lifestyle. It has to do with protecting children from very bad choices and porn content, quite frankly. So thank you again.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll call the question then. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All right, raise your hand. I lost count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so all opposed? Out of principle, I'm going to vote no. So let's report on the minutes that the motion passed 5-6, please.
5
Now,
to
all
1.
this-
5 to 1.
All this is
5
is
to
a
1.
recommendation to the director. That's
right.
all it is. The ultimate authority on whether or not the money gets spent resides with the Board of County Commissioners. Okay? Okay, let's move on to the next item, which is the strategic plan. Strategic plan, item H3 on your agenda. And you want to take care of that, Eric?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
strategic
Eric's
plan.
over here. I'm not used to the change yet. Adam, I'm sorry, Adam.
Oh, no worries. Okay, so strategic plan, as part of your agenda packet, this is the plan for basically fiscal year 23 going to 2028. We have to have a strategic plan for the state. So a lot of this carries over from previous strategic plans, a lot of the same kind of language in there, our mission, our vision. I'll highlight the goals for you all, and then again, if you have questions, we can talk about them a little further. But basically, goal 1 is provide education and value to the community. That's something that we've always done, and we continue to strive to work towards.
So this is the standard 5-year plan?
Yes. Yep. One of the big changes in this one, or I put a little more emphasis on than previous plans, in the hopes that we'll get some traction over the next couple years, is the maintenance, renovation, and expansion of library facilities. We started that process by undergoing the renovation at Lakes Region, and I'm hoping that carries over to the Coastal Region Library in the next couple years, and then allows us to look at some of our other facilities to expand them based on population growth and trends in where people are moving into and how they want to use our spaces. So adding things like meeting spaces, study rooms, better technology access. Do you want me to go through them line by line, or you want to discuss?
Just with regard to budget, is there any hope of getting eventual more money from the county to do this sort of thing?
We haven't had too many of those discussions yet, but I certainly will be looking to find ways to fund them. Our millage isn't at the top level yet, but there's certainly options going forward, but haven't had discussions on that yet.
Okay, let's then just go through it. And then if you have, the board members have individual questions on an item, rather than wait till we get all the way through, just raise your question as Adam goes through it. Eric, you got to get out of here because I keep looking at you and I keep using your name. Okay.
All right.
Please.
Goal 3, evaluate and expand library service offerings and awareness to attract new users. So over the next couple years, we're going to continue to take a closer look at our library's collection and the services that we offer in an effort to make sure we're providing, again, the most value to our community. And then we're attracting more people to our libraries because we're offering the things that they're looking for. The bottom bullet on that one of goal 3, this is not something that I'm looking at for the next year or maybe a couple years, but it's identifying ways to increase library systems open hours, because that's something I heard a lot from the public in asking those questions about what do you want to see in your library. A lot of people are looking for that expansion of hours. Right. That does come with some staffing challenges, so that also needs to be worked out as well. But that's in here because that's something that I'm hopeful to address in the next 5 years. Maximize fundraising. So we're looking at ways, again, to continuously fundraise so we can meet all of those needs and those wants that we're looking to do as far as renovate, upgrade, build our library collections, and provide different services. So it's working with the Friends of the Library and their book sales and their other fundraising activities. It's working with you all as far as the U.S. Family Foundation Fund and Love Your Library, getting those events back on track. Now we're a couple years removed from the last one. We want to try to build those back up. And then goal 5 is to develop library staff and volunteers, putting more emphasis again on making sure we're training our staff efficiently and making those options available for them, because we do have a lot of shift over the last couple of years in positions. And we want to make sure people are comfortable in the roles they're in and they're prepared.
I want to make your perception. Okay, so you were talking about how you have a little bit of a staffing issue at the small scale, but I'm thinking on the whole other spectrum. What would you think if we had 24-hour library access? If everybody could just walk in and it was well secured, had cameras, and people just come and study whatever hour they want. It would give them an alternative place to go other than, in the big cities they have clubs. But you understand what I'm saying. It would encourage studying, and they don't necessarily have to be on a specific time clock, because a lot of people study from home, so they don't really have to go on a specific daytime hour anymore.
Right.
I'm just going to toss that to you. Just think about it for a second.
Thank you. Okay. So those are the primary goals that I've identified for the next 5 years. We worked with library management, some different staff, and then also we got some input from the public for these ideas and what they were looking for in terms of where they want their library to go. And then there's some core areas of service. We have our youth service. We're always looking to help bolster those programs for early literacy, to help kids become more engaged with reading at an early age, get them connected to reading, so when they go to school, they're a lot better prepared to succeed. So we always make that a large emphasis on our programming is our youth service, early literacy. Adult literacy, that's something that our county kind of struggles with as well. We've got a lot of people in our community that haven't finished high school that we're trying to kind of help one by one to get them better able to join the workforce or meet their goals or whatever it is they might want to do in terms of adult literacy. We want to be there as a support for them.
It's a wonderful program. I really liked it. I liked Eric used to share the pictures with them graduating. It was nice.
Mm-hmm. And then our instruction research team, they're coming up with different trainings to help people with technology, personal growth, branch and circulation. We're looking at ways to always improve customer service and interaction in our buildings. Try to find different ways to develop programs to celebrate. And then support the membership of our friends groups. All of our library staff should be doing that, working with the friends group, supporting them in their needs as well. And then our administrative, a lot of the same things just kind of echoed in there. Supporting the goals, make data-driven decisions with what we're doing. I do try to, when this board meets and when our library staff meet, we do always talk about statistics, kind of what they're showing us and where we're going. That's why I handed you all those to see, library cards are up. We do monitor those kind of things. We're looking at improving digital content to meet the expectations of our users. To Elaine's point, people want to have that 24-hour access, and digital content is one way that we can provide that in the short term, at least an inexpensive way to do that, and a trial run to see if people are using our services in that regard. But people are asking more and more for digital service. Thanks to a lot of companies that now deliver, next day within hours in some big cities. People want that instant access. So digital content is one way that we can bridge and help that. And then off of this strategic plan, we will be developing annual plans of service with each of our service teams to try to accomplish some of these goals in more kind of bite-sized manners. Those haven't been developed yet. They will be in this upcoming year. Okay, questions on that?
Any other questions or comments on the strategic plan? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Adam? Any other comments on new business? No? Okay, well then let's start wrap up then. Let's go board member updates. Lane?
It's nice seeing you again. I hope you have a wonderful next couple months.
Jason?
So I would like to say, because I know she's probably watching online, but happy birthday to my wife today for lending me to her the county today.
Happy birthday.
And Shavana?
No updates for me.
Edith?
Yes, CF is having their college and career night from 5 to 7 p.m. tonight at the Building 4 Learning and Conference Center. And so I want to invite everyone out to CF's College and Career Night.
I have no comments.
Okay, and I don't have any comments either then. All right, so the next meeting, as a reminder, will be October 24th in this room here, okay? Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
And a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned at, it looks like, 10:18. Thank you.
Thank you.